The storm had rolled in too fast sheets of rain slamming the windshield as I pulled into the parking garage beneath my building. I sat there for a moment, engine humming, eyes fixed on the elevator across the dim structure. A sense of being watched clung to me like a wet coat. I told myself it was just nerves. The news had been relentless this week. 3 women murdered in the last month, all in different cities. But with the same chilling signature, no forced entry, no DNA. Only a lipstick mark on a mirror and a red thread tied around the victim's wrist. And now the pattern had crossed state lines. The FBI was calling him the Red Whisperer, and he was escalating. I knew this not from the news, but from the photos someone had left on my doorstep this morning. Photos of me, asleep in my bed. I made it to my apartment with my pepper spray ready, the weight of the photos burning in my bag. Inside, I bolted the door, checked the windows, pulled the curtains tight. My hands trembled as I opened the manila envelope again. The last photo in the pile wasn't just of my was of my sister, Sarah. But Sarah had been dead for 10 years. The clock ticked loudly. Every shadow felt alive. I dialed Detective Arrowhead, been the lead on the Red Whisperer case, and the only one who didn't look at me like I was losing it. His voice answered low and strained. I was about to call. You're not safe. He's changing the pattern. We found something new at the last scene. What? I asked, heart hammering. A name, yours, written inside the mirror, underneath the lipstick. I dropped the phone. The glass cracked, but the call still went on, his voice distant now. He's hunting you. And something tells me he's already close. I froze. Then a whisper, faint but unmistakable, came from the hallway just outside my apartment. I pressed my ear to the door. Silence. Then the sound of paper sliding underneath. I stared down. A single sheet. A child's drawing. Crude. Messy. A stick-figure girl with black hair standing next to a tall man with no face, holding a red thread. Scrawled in jagged letters, I want to play again, Amelia, my name. But no child lived on this floor. No one had called me that in years. Not since the night my sister died. Suddenly, a memory snapped to life, sharp and brutal. I was 7. Hiding under the porch as sirens wailed and Sarah's blood soaked the ground. A man had knelt beside me, voice calm and kind. Don't cry. One day, I'll come back for you. The same voice echoed now, faintly from the apartment intercom. Do you remember me now, little mouse? My breath caught. My front door lock clicked open from the outside, and I realized Di had never changed the default code. I stumbled backward as the door creaked open, heart slamming against my ribs. Nothing moved beyond the threshold, just the dim hallway light bleeding in, casting a long, unfamiliar shadow across my hardwood floor. I lunged for the kitchen drawer, yanked it open, gripped the carving knife. My hand was slick with sweat. I waited. Silence. Then the hallway light flicked off by itself. I inched forward and slammed the door shut, jamming a chair beneath the handle, but something caught my eye. My living room window, slightly open. I never left it open, never. Rain whispered through the gap, but so did something else. A voice, a child's voice. Let's draw her again. I turned on every light, grabbed my phone, and called Harrow. Straight to voicemail. I texted him. He was inside. There was a child's voice. I think he left something again. Seconds later, my screen lit up not from a reply, but from an airdrop. Request. Do you want to accept one image from unknown? My finger hovered. I accepted. The image loaded. A sketch, far more detailed than the crayon scrawl from before. It showed my bedroom, exactly as it looked right now, except in the drawing. I was lying on my bed, throat slit, and above me, scribbled in red, just like Sarah. That broke something inside me. A scream fought its way up, but never left my lips. I rushed to the bedroom, empty. But as I turned to leave, my gaze locked onto the vanity mirror, a smear of lipstick that hadn't been there before. One word. Soon, lightning flared, thunder rolled and the lights died. Panic closed in. I grabbed my phone, used its flashlight to sweep the room. That's when I saw it. A red thread tied to the foot of my bed, trailing under the mattress. I lifted the covers slowly. Underneath, taped to the frame, was an old cassette tape, labeled, in childlike scrawl, "Play me, Amelia, you forgot." I hesitated, then remembered my neighbor, Mr. Kelman, kept an old tape player. I bolted across the hall, banged on his door until it opened and froze. Kelman's apartment was dark, cold, and empty, except for a single chair facing me. On it, a cassette player already loaded, the same label, and beside it, on the table, a drawing me again, this time with a red thread around my wrist. I hit play, static, then "You let her die. Now it's your turn to remember." My blood ran cold. My voice cracked. "Who are you?" the voice answered, low and metallic. "I'm the one Sarah drew before she vanished, and you were the only one who saw it." Suddenly, a second voice came through the speaker, a child, familiar. "He's back, Mia. He never left." The tape ended with a single sound, my apartment door clicking open again, recorded in perfect, recent audio. But I was standing in Kelman's apartment, and I had locked the door behind me. I spun around, dread rising like bile, but Kelman's apartment was empty at least. I thought it was. The air felt colder now, wrong, as if something had been waiting for me to hit play. I clutched the tape recorder like it might protect me, and edged toward the hallway, only to hear the distinct creak of a floorboard behind me. I whipped around, nothing but then movement. In the mirror above the console table, just for a flicker, I saw someone standing directly behind me, tall, faceless. Gone when I turned. I ran, back in my apartment. The door now stood wide open. Every light I'd turned on before was off again. I moved slowly, kitchen knife in one hand, phone flashlight in the other. That's when I saw the couch. Something had been written across it in red. "Look beneath her grave." A violent memory stabbed its way into my mind. Sarah's funeral. I had cried the entire time, not from grief alone, but guilt. I remembered now. She had drawn the man in the weeks before her death. No one had believed her, not even me. But I had seen the drawing. I had even hidden it under her bed the night she disappeared. The man with no face, with the red thread. And now, somehow, that same drawing was guiding him back. The phone buzzed. A message from a blocked number. "You have 12 hours to find her truth, or your truth ends too." 12 hours. The killer was giving me a deadline. A time-limited nightmare. I knew what I had to do by dawn. I was at the cemetery, alone, wind howling through the trees like whispers. Sarah's grave was modest, overgrown. I knelt, pushed the wet leaves aside, and found something wedged into the earth beneath the headstone. A rusted tin box. Inside, a Polaroid. My sister, smiling. And beside her, a man whose face had been scratched out violently. On the back he was real. He said you'd come. My hand trembled as I unfolded a second note beneath it. The man in the mirror lives behind your eyes. He watches through your guilt. I didn't understand until I noticed my reflection in the polished headstone. My eyes, something shifted in them. Just for a second. A flicker of something that wasn't me. I stumbled back, heart racing. Then came a voice from behind the nearest gravestone. A small, whispering girl. Amelia. I turned slowly. There, in the fog, stood a little girl, pale, familiar, too familiar. She stepped forward. I told him not to hurt you, but he said you forgot the promise. What promise? I whispered, knees weakening. She tilted her head, smiling sadly. That you'd finish what Sarah started. A gust of wind tore through the trees and when I looked back, she was gone. But carved into Sarah's headstone now was a single new word, tonight, and the hands on my watch had just hit 6 p.m. I drove back with shaking hands, headlights cutting through the dusk like a blade. The city had taken on a different shape, shadows stretched longer, people's faces unreadable. Every corner seemed to watch me. I couldn't stop thinking about the girl in the graveyard, her voice etched into my skull. You promised. My mind kept circling the truth I'd buried for years. Sarah hadn't just vanished that night. She had drawn the man. She had spoken to him, and I had lied to the police about it. I was almost home when I saw a red thread stretched across the stairwell leading to my apartment, like a tripwire. I stopped dead. Tied to the railing was another drawing. This one showed 2 stick figures, one small, labeled S, and one larger me. But the man wasn't drawn this time. Instead, behind us loomed a shape, a mirror with 2 glowing eyes inside. I stepped over the thread carefully, scanning for movement, for breath, for presence. As I entered, I noticed something was different. The smell my apartment always smelled, like lavender and old paper, but now it smelled like rust, blood, and something else, -charcoal.smoke.I. Ran to the bedroom, my mirror was on fire. The flames danced in total silence. Not heat, not sound, just black fire swallowing the glass. I backed away, horrified, and then it stopped, vanished. The mirror was whole again, clean, no soot. Except now, a new word was etched across its surface from the inside. Confess. I gasped as my phone rang. Detective Harrow. I need you to listen, he said, voice tight, urgent. That photo you found, the one of your sister. We scanned it. That man, the one with the scratched face, we enhanced the image. He's real. His name's Elias Rook, a children's book author from the 90s. Went missing after allegations of lesion. Amelia, this gets worse. You were one of the children in his books. What? My voice cracked. I don't. He wrote stories about you. Twins. Girls with black hair. One disappears. One forgets. But we just found something else. His last book was never published. It was found in the basement of his burned-down house. The title, a pause. Amelia's eyes. The phone dropped from my hands. Suddenly, my bedroom light buzzed on by itself, and there, sitting on the bed, was the original copy of that unpublished book, my name etched into the leather. I picked it up, pages crackling with age. Each chapter described everything that had happened so far, everything. The photos, the thread, even Sarah's grave. The final page was blank except for one handwritten line before the end. She remembered it all, and beneath that, in fresh ink, you have 6 hours left. Then, in the closet, something moved. I turned, slowly, blade in hand, and from the darkness, a whisper. "Are you ready to tell the truth now?" The whisper bled through the closet door like smoke through woodsoff. Male and achingly familiar, though I couldn't place it. My pulse thundered as I inched closer, gripping the knife so tight my knuckles ached. I threw the door open empty, except for one thing, a long-forgotten shoebox tucked into the far corner, buried under old coats. I reached in slowly and pulled it out. Inside were relics from a past I'd deliberately buried, bracelets Sarah made, a broken hair clip, and at the bottom a VHS tape, labeled in black marker, October 4th, 1999. Sarah and Mia. The night she disappeared. I didn't remember filming it. I didn't remember any of it. I dug out my old camcorder, hands trembling. The tape slid in with a click. I pressed play. The screen flickered, static. Then the image steadied two girls giggling in a blanket fort. Me and Sarah. She was whispering something to the camera, holding up a crude drawing of a faceless man. With long fingers, he watches from the mirror. He said not to be scared. He said if I draw him right, he'll come. I watched myself on the screen, laughing. "You're so weird." Then Sarah's face turned serious. "No, Mia." He said, "You promised." The camera shook, dropped. The last image was the mirror across the room. Something moved in it, but not on the screen. In my room, my actual mirror. I spun around and saw the shape again, tall, pale eyes, like burned out stars, standing in the reflection behind me, but when I turned to face it, nothing. Just a cold bite of air and a rising scream in my throat. My phone lit up. Again, one new message from unknown. "The camera caught what you buried. Check frame 346. I rewound the tape slowly, manually advancing to frame 346. Pause. A single still of Sarah, wide-eyed in terror. But behind her me, not as a child, but as I am now. Same haircut, same shirt I was wearing tonight. No explanation, just me, in the past. Watching her, the phone buzzed again. "You already went back. You made the promise. Now keep it." I collapsed. To the floor, everything spinning. My childhood, Sarah, Rook, the drawings, the book, all of it looping in on itself like I'd lived it once before. Suddenly, the apartment lights surged and shattered glass exploding across the floor. My living room TV turned on by itself, no signal, until a face appeared. Harrow, bleeding, gasping, filming himself. They got to me. Don't trust the case files. "Amelia, you're the reason he exists. He's your creation, your drawings, your nightmares. They birthed him." A crash behind me. The front door blown wide. And standing in the doorway was the little girl from the graveyard. But now her eyes were black, and she spoke with Sarah's voice. "You promised you'd never forget me." Then the power died, and the world fell to black. I woke on the floor, head pounding. The last thing I remembered echoing like a scream through a tunnel, Sarah's voice in the mouth of a child who shouldn't exist. My apartment was eerily still. No rain, no wind, no power. The windows were pitch black, yet the room was dimly lit by a flickering red glow. I turned toward it. My hallway wall was pulsing, live-covered in childlike drawings scrawled in red crayon. Page after page of twisted versions of me. In some, I was asleep. In others, I was crying. In all of them, the faceless man stood behind me, always taller than the house, always watching through mirrors. At the center of the wall was a new drawing, still wet, fresh. It showed me standing in front of a cabin deep in the woods, my old summer home, the place. Sarah disappeared. Before I could move, a sound split the silence, my laptop powering on by itself. The screen glowed with static, then displayed a single word. Run, but where? And from what? Then the static cleared and showed a live feed of the cabin, lit. Inside, someone was already there. My breath caught in my throat, and on the porch, barely visible in the frame, was the child again, staring into the camera, holding up a sign, "Time's almost gone." I had 4 hours left. I drove through the night like the road was breaking behind me, memories slamming into my head with every mile. That summer with Sarah. The woods, the drawings she wouldn't stop making. The dreams I had after she vanished, where she whispered from behind a glass wall, "You made him real, Mia. You named him." I arrived at the cabin around 3 a.m. Fog curled around the trees like fingers. The porch light flickered, just like in the drawing. The door was open. Inside, nothing had changed. The same couch, same wood stove, same mirror above the fireplace. But in the mirror's reflection, someone else's shadow. I turned, no one. Then the sound of scraping metal against wood. From the basement I descended slowly, each creak of the stairs a countdown. The air down there was wrong, thick. At the bottom, I found it another wall of drawings, pinned in a circle. At the center, an old metal chair, restraints, dried blood, and one final drawing on the seat, me bound, eyes closed, and behind me, him, red thread looped from my wrist to his hand. I reached for it, and a voice echoed through the basement, not spoken, but inside my head. You drew me to protect you, but now I protect only the truth. The cabin shook. I spun around. The girl stood at the top of the stairs, tears in her eyes. I tried to stop him, but you made him too strong. Who are you? I asked, voice barely audible. She blinked. I'm the part of you that never forgot, the one who watched her die. Suddenly, the mirror upstairs shattered. The whole cabin plunged into darkness. Then, from behind me, a cold breath. Time's up. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The breath behind me wasn't just cold, it was me, my own breath, but deeper, wrong, like something had borrowed my lungs. I turned slowly, knife ready, but the basement was empty. No more girl, no more drawings, no more chair, only the mirror, somehow reassembled, now standing tall in the center of the room where it hadn't been a second ago. And in its reflection, I wasn't alone. The figure stood behind me, faceless, tall, threads wrapped around his, fingers like puppet strings, and one thread led into my spine. I lunged at the mirror. It shattered, but I didn't feel glass eye fell through. Suddenly, I was standing in the past, not just remembering it in it. October 4th, 1999. The blanket fort. Sarah giggling. Me drawing. But something was wrong. My child self was frozen, not moving, just staring at me, and Sarah. She was looking past me, her eyes full of fear. No, I whispered. This isn't right. I was there that night. I saw, and then I remembered. Sarah hadn't drawn the faceless man first. I had shown it to her, told her he was my imaginary friend. I had said, he protects us, but we have to give him a name. And Sarah, sweet Sarah, had whispered it into the dark. I hadn't heard it then, But I heard it now. Rook. Elias Rook hadn't created the monster. I had. A child's defense against fear. A nightmare with a purpose. And when Sarah vanished that night, when the sirens came, when I was found alone, it was because I had asked him to take her so I could forget, so I could be safe. The past swirled around me like ash, and suddenly I was back in the present, mirror shards around me, hands covered in blood that wasn't mine. The final thread around my wrist burned and snapped. The girl appeared again, but she was no longer a girl. She was Sarah, older, real. I didn't die, she whispered. He kept me. You gave me to him. Tears welled in my eyes. I was a kid. I didn't know but now you do. The room began collapsing, walls warping inward, mirrors forming where none had been. Dozens, hundreds, every one of them filled with the same figure. Watching, waiting. Sarah stepped forward, placing her hand on mine. You can end this, but you have to remember all of it. You have to take him back. How? She looked at the blade in my hand. You have to choose. A heartbeat passed. And then I understood. This wasn't about killing Rook. It was about accepting what I'd done, inviting the guilt back in, taking the pain I gave away, reclaiming my memory, and living with it. I stood, walked to the mirror, and whispered, "Come back to me." The mirrors shattered all at once. The cabin imploded in light, and I woke up in a hospital, Detective Harrow beside me, bruised but alive. They found you in the woods, he said, alone. The cabin was burned to the foundation. No sign of anyone else. No mirrors. But Sarah, I began. He looked at me strangely. Amelia, you never had a sister. I stared at him, numb, until the nurse came in and tied a red thread round my wrist, smiling. Double quotes. Time for your next session, Miss Rook.